member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com. They came from the game table, dice bags in hand.
We have one brain that we share between us.
To talk about role-playing for all across the land.
How'd you like it?
The original, then basic, then 1E they scoured.
Kinda grabs you by the boo-boo, don't it?
To bring AD&D to the second power.
You want me to put the hammer down?
Welcome to THACO's Hammer, the best damn AD&D 2nd edition podcast ever.
So yeah, you got those different types of beholders, and it was just one, it was just one, and then you had to be careful because your DM was sadistic enough for to put out gas spores and things like that. Hi folks, THACO's Hammer, number 75. We are talking beholders, and and as the title of the show goes, the eyes have it. But
I promise not to title anything "Beauty is in the Eye of" or any of that cheesy crap.
That was a cover of a Dragon magazine back in the day. DM Glen is still doing his rehearsals for his play, so I'm going to take the controls for this episode. I am, of course, DM Brian. Over there is DM Corey.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back, 75th show, and I have a drink in my hand.
I thought you gave it up.
I did, but I didn't say for how long. We're doing a show.
This is true. And over there is DM Full On Gamer.
Greetings, Gamer Nation! We're back! We're at it! The eyes have it! And it's Diamond Anniversary time!
Yeah, I'm wondering where we're going to get diamonds from. And we have a special guest, one of the, a fantasy author. This is someone that DM Corey was able to obtain for our show. This is Richard Lee Byers. Richard, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Hello, everybody.
So...
welcome to the show.
Yes, welcome to our show. You are the first special guest we've had that's fairly close to second edition. We've had a couple, but more, they're more either basic or going out towards, 3E land or, whatever. But, welcome to our show, and, hope you enjoy yourself.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
Okay, and with that, let's get on to Hits and Crits.
What are you doing tonight? I don't know. What are you doing tonight? The burlesque, Louie's Paradise, miserable and lonely and stupid. What am I, crazy or something? I got something good here. What am I hanging around with you guys for?
Hits and Crits.
Okay, Hits and Crits. What have we been doing in gaming this week, Corey?
In gaming this week, nothing. I have been working to try to network out to see if I can get some more interior artwork. Got some information and some feedback from a couple publishing companies and gaming publishing companies, but as far as my campaign, we didn't play again this week. People decided that they were sick or...
more sand-insensitive areas?
Yeah. But instead, I got a new copy of the Risk Legacy game. It's awesome.
Really?
It is fantastic. And if you like Risk or if you hate Risk, throw that shit out the window, listen to me, buy a copy, charm a friend of yours to buy a copy. It is so much better than the original Risk game.
Really?
I opened up the cover. There are 4 small envelopes on the interior of the box. The first one says, the first time someone is knocked out of the game, open this envelope. The second one says, as soon as somebody gets to name a continent, open up this envelope. There's envelopes that are only openable by things that happen in the game.
Huh, interesting.
So essentially you change the world and the map becomes permanently changed. When I pulled the board out, there's a spot on the back of the board that everybody who plays on the board for the first time gets to sign the board, and then everybody who wins the game of Risk gets to sign a small part on the front where the map is. When you win, you have a choice of naming a continent, founding a major city or doing something else. I think raising one of those numbers, like if you own all of Europe, you get 5, or if you own all of Asia, you get 7. You get to either raise that or lower it. If everybody just held on to the game, they get to found a small city. I mean, and you put stickers on the actual board and change the board itself.
Wow.
The way the game is set up, if you play, you're supposed to play 15 games with different people, and at the end of those 15 games, the board will look nothing like my board, and my board will look nothing like anybody else's board. So there's 2 other small boxes where the play pieces go in that are covered, and the first one says, the first time you use a nuke on the board, you open this one up. And the second one says when the first person saves up all their cards and turns them in for a bunch of men, you open up this one. Well, we use a nuke on the board, and they put zombies in as an effect when someone uses a nuke in an area. The nuke card essentially lets you change any die roll to a 6, but we actually have zombies now. No one can go into Madagascar, and when you go to conquer Madagascar, you start losing men every round due to radiation fallout.
And you wonder why the animals thought it was so important for us to leave.
Wow.
And I pulled the actual plastic tray out, and there's an envelope in the bottom that says, "Do not open ever."
And of course,
I had to be physically restrained from opening it, but all my friends told me don't open it. So yeah, it's a really cool game. You gotta check it out. Listen to me out there. I command you, go buy one, check one out. It's really fun.
Interesting.
Yep.
And
you're just trolling for someone to tell you what's in the do not open envelope.
Listen, why must you tell everybody my secrets? Stop.
That's because you're about as obvious as a Mack truck barreling down the highway.
Right.
It's kind of funny because when I actually got before I moved to Florida back in '93, I used to hang out at the Dunkin' Donuts with like my first DM and all the kids I grew up playing D&D with, and we actually played D&D in the Dunkin' Donuts as long as, we ordered sodas and donuts and stuff like that. But after a while, someone in that group, they actually brought the game of Risk, and then it was just all over with, because that's what we would do from 9 o'clock at night till 2 in the morning, just sit there in the Dunkin' Donuts smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee, playing Risk. So,
well, I gotta tell you, I've played old Risk, where, you gotta go to work and call your buddy and go, hey, I'm gonna stop by after work and take my turn, because, the game's last week.
Right.
Yeah, this game, honestly, each game lasted an hour. Done.
Really? Oh,
done.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's not World Conquest. Don't think that. It's not, and it's set up, and the more you change the board, the rules change. There's actual stickers in those envelopes that you have to go into the rule book and put stickers over portions of the rules that change.
Wow.
I was like, so eventually at Rule 15, this is going to be a completely different game, and essentially it says it in there in the rule book. After you get to the 15th game, this game will be nothing like it was when you first started. Now you have to go buy a new board game and start all over again. I was like, that's freaking genius.
Isn't it?
But anyways.
People like Risk, so, alright, that's pretty cool. Full on, what have you been doing?
Well, unfortunately, as usual, I have no pen and paper over the table board games or RPGs to partake in with my current crowd of available people here at Fort Sill, but I have been rampaging along. It's been Bounty Hunter Week in the Old Republic. So I've been cashing in on bounties on places where I actually shouldn't have taken my characters. It's far too dangerous.
Yeah, I know all about that. I mean, you've got the Star Wars angle covered. I have the Star Trek angle covered because I've just been playing Star Trek online. Within 10 days, I maxed out my character's level at 50, and I've got a bunch of different starships now, and it's a lot of fun. I just like going around and blowing stuff up. I just like destroying enemy ships. That's all I like doing. I mean, you've got away team missions and things like that you can do, but I just have fun just getting into massive battles with Klingons and Borg and all these other races that you're up against. It's a lot of fun.
There is a new free-for-all downloadable content upgrade pack coming in the near future, end of the year. The Starfighter game is being inserted into the game.
Oh,
it is the 12-on-12 It's the 12-on-12 PvP variant. Starfighter combat in space.
I might have to get the Old Republic after this. once that comes out, because that's all I'm about is just flying around in space and shooting stuff.
If you're a subscriber before November 1st, it's free.
Oh, well, I'll have to look into it then, definitely.
I can't fly spaceships.
You have early access.
Mm-hmm. I will definitely look into that.
I'm just too busy shooting people in Vice City and running from the cops.
You haven't gone. You haven't done. You're not into GTA 5. You're still doing freaking Vice City.
Oh no, Vice City's on my laptop at work. At home, GTA 5, but I can't take my PS3 and get internet access at work, so I have to take my laptop that is Vice City, which is, it's like when you're a heroin addict and they give you some methadone. It's a holdover until I can get home.
Oh, trust me, I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, I gotta get rid of this game. It's sucking my will to live.
Yep. Richard, have you been doing anything in gaming lately?
I was not able to do any gaming in the past week. I was because I was at a convention over the weekend. At the convention, I did a little game-related business. I'm going to be writing a piece of short fiction, which will be one chapter in the core book of a new RPG that's coming out called Fall of Man.
Awesome.
So I got that nailed down. So that's my gaming thing here lately.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think convention trumps board game. So yeah, you win.
yeah, for sure. Speaking of gaming,
how about you, Brian?
Aside from Star Trek Online, not too much. I've been sick for like the last week. I'm starting to get over it, but it's slow going, and I'm hoping by this time next week I'll be 100%. Allie is also sick. That's the reason why, aside from Glenn doing his rehearsals, we haven't gone into session 9 of Hammers of the
Dutchie.
Mm-hmm. Which we will get into by at least the first week of November. As long as we can get Glenn in, then we'll just go with it.
I certainly hope so. Does that mean that for Halloween you're going to dress up like a DM?
Oh, hold on. Really? Wow.
I'm going to allow it.
Yeah. They bitch at you when you don't run, and they bitch at you when you do run.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know bitching him when he does run.
Well, I just hope you survive the Black Plague and you get rid of this case of gonorrhea that you have, and we can get back to playing Hammers of the Duchy.
Yeah, herpetogonosyphilis. Yeah, definitely. We will do that. Okay. All right. Let's go into.
I'm a half-orc. I don't get that many ladies, even as a swashbuckler. Thank you very much.
Well, as long as you have enough gold, you know how that goes. You always have that aspect to go with. Okay.
Not when I'm lawful good, I don't.
Yeah, you do. Who said? All right. Debate. Minor debate time.
Oh, here we
go. Who says a lawful good character cannot have a prostitute?
Well, once again, we're going into the whole lawful good paladin following the one God of Jesus Christ and Christianity, no sex before marriage, so as lawful good people, the stereotype from the classic D&D, by default, the thought is you're not supposed to have a prostitute. But
let's put it this way.
I would beg to differ with that if you happen to be running a paladin of Soon.
Oh, right. What I'm saying is, if you can actually get past the original stereotypical paladin and get into the Forgotten Realms polytheism, and have multiple gods and multiple, yeah, sure, paladin is soon, heck yeah.
Better be morning devotions.
Some of them will probably even be the ones standing on the street corner.
or for me, I'd take the priestess. Oh, what the hell is her name with the whip?
Paladin of Leviathan.
Yeah, Levitar. Yeah, I'll take a Levitar.
Levitar, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take a Paladin Levitar.
Oh God, yeah. Well, that's the funny part. It can be done in my.
You could do that in Forgotten Realms. It's doable.
Yes, it's very doable.
Paladin of Leviathan, isn't she like pretty flat out evil?
Yes, lawful evil deity.
Look at what worshippers alignment is, or worshippers allowed. There's a whole subcategory of things in there as well. Mm-hmm. Just like you can be a paladin of death.
What death?
death, like the job death or the deity
Yeah, well,
death, whatever the local deity is, there's a order to be put in things when you are a paladin of that thing.
I see your point.
Interesting.
All right, enough of this. Let's move on.
Minor debate over. Sorry.
Yes.
We got sidetracked. Like that never happens. Let's see. Okay, let's move on to some emails.
Emails. Do we have emails?
Yeah, we've got emails.
Let's do emails.
Yeah, I've got emails dating back to April. That's how many we have. Okay, let's see. All right, let's do this one first. Okay, this one is from Doug, and he says, "Hey guys, first things first, hello. I'm a huge fan of the show and have spent many, many hours enjoying some THACO's Hammer. I'm writing to send in my appreciation to you all and to ask a few questions. My first question goes to DM Crybaby Pants, or as is known on the show, DM Corey.
Here we go.
Last episode, we heard you whine about your players bailing out for a second week in a row. We all felt moved as we listened to your tears falling into your rum and coke. My question for you is, how does it feel to know the same pain of those you abandoned? Oh yes, I'm referring to those players at the Unseen Servant play-by-post forum who were left crying when you abandoned your games.
Oh.
All kidding aside, why did you go and are you planning on coming back? Your games are really good and we miss your epic level of detail. Was it a case of not liking the play-by-post format, not enjoying the game, other commitments? Corey?
Oh, you're gonna ask and then I'll answer. I thought you were gonna read the whole email. Okay.
No.
Question. First of all, thanks, Doug. I will accept DM Crybaby Pants. That was pretty funny. No, I left simply because I had 2 tabletop games running every Sunday. They were hopscotching, so every group would take every other week off, and essentially their games I didn't have time to get back into Unseen Servant and finish my play-by-post. Also, I noticed in the play-by-posting are a lot of people who were grasping for available seats at the virtual tables of the forum threads DMing, but the moment they got a seat, they got a cool character, they did their intro, I noticed they would post 3 or 4 times in another forum and not come back and post in ours.
Huh.
And I was going, am I doing something wrong? What's going on here? And essentially some people get more excited, I guess, for different stories. I get that, but then drop out. So because essentially the way the play-by-post works, you have 5 players. And what I do is I don't put I put out information, and then your character, you post on the forum as your character's actions, your character's voice, etc. I don't post a reply to that until all 5 players post. So when you have 5 people and 2 of them don't come back for 4 days, it kind of kills the game dynamic as far as, I have no problem coming back to Unseen Servant, and just because of your funny email, I will make a point to come back to Unseen Servant, and I will try to run another game for you. I do apologize. I have some free time now that I've killed MMOs completely out of my life, and my tabletop game has kind of been on hiatus. So yeah, all right, point taken. Thank you. I'll take my lumps and I'll drink to that.
But the old Republic is calling you.
Stop it.
I know. Starfighters.
Anything else in the email?
Okay. He continues. As for my second question, I would like to address all of you. You guys have had guests on the show, but I've noticed a trend. Everyone is a DM. What about us lowly PCs? Okay, this is an interesting question. Yes, the people who suck at DMing and who enjoy D&D only from a player character point of view. At least he's honest about it. Any room for a PC guest on the show to weigh in from a purely player point of view?
Hell yeah, find us one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Are you volunteering? Send us your contact information. Where to, Corey?
You can send that to thacoshammer@gmail.com or the telephone number, which is 405-806-0555.
Yes, indeed it is. Just to answer it, I think that was just more of that was an adventure. I think Glenn would be able to answer this a lot better than any one of us could, because I think it was sort of just a nomenclature just to kind of keep people on an equal level. I'm just talking out of my backside. I don't know what Glenn's thought process was involving it, but I'm not exactly sure it was all DMs, but
No, it's not all DMs. As far as when Glenn and I started the show, we were going to have different perspectives of different things, and we focused on DMs and asking DMs and helping DMs get games, because you can have 500,000 players out there, but if you have a DM who wants to DM but doesn't have the info to DM, nobody's getting a game. So we've kind of focused towards gearing. We are that musical montage of watching Arnold Schwarzenegger equip himself with all the weapons before he goes into battle. We are equipping those DMs out there. So we bring the DMs on to let them give us their perspective. But yeah, you're right. There's no reason why, we couldn't have a player on here. In my opinion, though, it would be like, if I was a player listening to this, and hearing a player on the show, it would be like, oh, cool, I can get on there too. Maybe we'll get more responses and more activity. I have no problem with it. Sure.
More actual voicemails. But again, the other side of that coin is also, we can equip game masters all day long to run games, or share our thoughts, or share our feelings, or give them hints, tips, tricks, ask them questions, them ask us questions, whatever. But when players start doing that, it becomes suddenly us dibbling our fingers in some other chef's cookie dough, and they might get upset at that. But the DMs on THACO's Hammer said it's this way.
Oh, God.
At which point we will get, somebody's laptop thrown at them. We're trying to avoid that if at all possible.
Yeah.
If we do a show with players where we can do like an episode of like Ask a DM Anything and just have like 4 players on asking random questions, we'll have to get my one buddy who does he can talk as fast as that guy from the old Micro Machine commercials. We'll have a big disclaimer in the front, like anything said on the show and the views of the people. We'll have them just do a big disclaimer so that way no DMs can go, well, I don't care what they said on that show. We can say, hey, we're just giving opinions.
Right. Yeah, that's in the end. That is what every syllable that comes out of our mouths is our opinions. You can agree with them, you can disagree with them, you can think we're full of crap, but hey, we've got the forum. We are the only second edition podcast on the internet that we know of. There are plenty of 1E ones, plenty of basic D&D ones, 3E, 4E, whatever. We're at least one of 2, if not the only one. And, with that in mind, we try to give the best opinions about what the topics we're discussing as we can. So, it is what it is.
Opinions are like orgasms. I have one, and I don't care if you have one.
Ouch.
And tonight, appearing on the Kobold's Court. Dun dun.
Corey, please don't make me laugh that hard. I'm still recovering from being sick. Okay, with that, let's move on to another email. I will archive that. Okay, and let's see.
Wait, before you read another email, do we have any voicemail?
Oh, yeah, we got a voicemail.
Well, why don't we do a voicemail, because someone prefers not to have voicemails played when he's present.
Oh, you mean Glenn?
Okay, well, I wasn't going to say his name, but his initials are Glenn Holstrom.
Yeah, his initials are GH. Okay. Yeah, we've got one, although I don't know who this is from because I don't recognize the number. I think we've actually, there's one from Kojo, but we'll do that another time.
Why not do Kojo? We can do Kojo. I don't care.
Okay. I can do that.
Twofer.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right, we'll do Kojo. Or is this? Oh. You have to understand that, like I've always said, Google Voice, they translate the voicemail as best they can into text, and it's like a half step below autocorrect at this point, and because of that, I'm not 100% sure of who sends them. I think this is Kojo, but let's find out, shall we?
Hey guys, it's DM Kojo. Just wanted to call in with a comment that I also had posted on the OSR Gaming forums about books that we never saw for second edition that I would have loved to see. And I don't know if these are things that were ever planned or not, but just things as I kind of thought about it that I would have loved to have in my collection. Sadly, they don't exist. The big one is 2E Oriental Adventures. I know we had the complete book of ninjas, and Dragon Magazine had some Oriental Adventure kits that you could use, but would have liked to definitely have had an Oriental Adventures for 2E. Other things that I was interested in, there's a complete book of necromancers, but never a complete book of illusionists or a complete book of invokers. The different specialty schools, I think, deserve their own books too. And finally, I would have liked to have seen a Legends and Lore that contained the monster mythology all in one large book. I thought would be really cool. Sadly, these things were never created, but thought it was food for thought and discussion. Keep up the good work. Thanks. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, DM Kojo.
Yes, indeed, DM Kojo.
Well, I don't know how much I want to input into this because I've got into conversations about the books that were never published before, and it turns into bashing a certain female who worked for the company.
Who did work for the company?
Who did work for the company.
Basically ran things?
Yeah, and it turns into a finger-pointing game. And honestly, there's lots of books that I'd like to see. Hell, I'd like to see a second edition, anything that first edition had that we don't have, Yeah, hell, I'd like to see more second edition modules.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure.
If they wouldn't have went, hey, Hasbro, Wizards, do you guys want to buy our company? Oh, you're going to buy us? Because we're almost, okay, yeah. Oh, you're going to do third edition? Okay, yeah, we need more money? Okay, whatever the opinions are and whatever the real goals are, they stopped making the books, obviously, and they could have made more books, but I agree with you, Kojo. It would have been cool to see a second edition Oriental Adventures book. I think, they put out enough second edition Oriental Adventures modules.
Yes, they did, even though they were basically retrofitted from first edition, but yeah.
Right. I mean, I agree with them that there's books that I'd like to see. And by the way, there was a book of illusions, but it was just an illusion.
Yeah, it really wasn't there.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you continue to believe.
Yeah. Once you stop believing, don't stop believing. Oh God.
No.
Yeah, I know. But as far as I know, the best alternative for those things are to go out on the net and find people who have said, I really would have liked it if they'd made an Oriental Adventure supplement for second edition. Oh, wait a minute, I can do this, and somebody actually did it. I have it somewhere, but
hey, I know this really cool guy who made a really cool second edition version of the Martial Artist.
Yeah, who is that guy? I don't know. Who are you talking about? I don't know.
DM Renclaw, he's pretty cool.
Oh, that guy. Oh, him, he's a hack. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, I just mean that somebody actually took the time and put it up on a website, where everything was adapted to second edition, even though, as we've always said, it's a minimum of work to adapt first edition to second. But, he actually went through the, OA supplement and actually wrote stuff out. I have like I said, I downloaded a bunch of the stuff off that website. I'll see if I can find it. And if I find it, Kojo, I'll send you a link with, the pertinent information. As far as the complete invoker and stuff like that would have been okay, but, I don't think it would. I think that would have been more of the cash grab than the original set of Splat books. You guys know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're, it was, most of them were covered fairly well in the Complete Wizard's Handbook and a couple of other supplements. But, I mean, I get what you're saying, Kojo. It would have been nice to have, now the Complete Book of Illusionists would have been wonderful because at least in one particular supplement there would have been somewhat codified rules about illusions. About what constitutes a good illusion and things like that, because God only knows, some players, either through inexperience or their willing or their ability or their attempts to quote unquote game the system, they will try to make illusions a lot, more than what they should be. And
oh my.
yeah,
really?
Shocking. Yeah, shocking, isn't it?
There are players that try to game the system? I'm shocked.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Richard.
Who knows what DMs do when they get it up in their heads as well? I mean, jeez.
Well, yeah, that game never lasts very long because, you just run through too many players at that point. But you guys know what I'm saying.
Hey, after half the party died, somebody finally disbelieved.
Yeah, something like that. Excuse me. But, thank you for the email, Kojo, and, your status as the 6th Beatle. Let's see, Glenn, Mike, Corey, me, full on. Yeah, number 6. The 6th Beatle is once again been confirmed. Okay. And that will go into...
He's one of the only guys who gives us voicemails, Gamer Nation at large.
No, there's some people who give us... You want to know what?
I said one of.
Yeah, one of. Actually, we're getting more of them lately.
Good. He's one of our only repeat customers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and
That's because you and me scare the other ones off.
No, Glenn's the one who scares them off. Anyway. Did I say that? Yeah, I did. Okay. And speaking of voicemails, I'm not sure who this is from, so we will all just find out together.
If it's an Asian porn ad, I'm going to be mad.
What are you giving that up to?
No.
Hey, mighty wielders of the hammer. This is DM Laz, and I'm calling with a question about a supplement, or supplements, actually. A long-time D&D player and long-time D&D collector. And the question that I have is in relation to Forgotten Realms and 2nd Edition. 2nd Edition is my game of choice, as well as my group's game of choice. And here's the question. Out of all of the material that I own, there's 2 supplements that I have owned for years, but believe it or not, have never read. And I'd like a little info on these, and I would also like to know if either or any of you have actually played with these supplements and utilized them in your game. So let's get to it. The first one is the Forgotten Realms box set, The Horde, TSR 1055. And I've never read this box set. I've owned it for years, like I said, but I've never utilized it, nor have I read it. And what I believe, the second one, which could be a tie-in supplement to it, but I'm not positive, is in the FR series, and that's FR 12. And it's titled The Horde Campaign, and it's TSR 9324. And what's also interesting about that supplement is out of all of the D&D modules and out of the whole FR 12 or FR series, why is that particular book manufactured and printed about 2 inches shorter than all of the other supplements in the series? I find that odd. But so my question is, what do you guys know about these? Are they any good? They never seem to get any love or mention. Are they that bad, or can they be useful? Is there any history behind them that you know of? And do they, in fact, belong together? Anyway, guys, long-time listener now. Keep up the great work, and I will keep listening. Bye.
Okay. Thank you, DM Laz.
Huzzah!
Thanks, DM Laz.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I won't go first.
they are
Go
published.
ahead.
They are published to go together. They relate to the area of the Forgotten Realms known as the Horde Lands, also known as everything east of Bloodstone Pass and everything west of Karatur.
Yeah, the in between. Yeah, it's sort of the buffer zone between the eastern realms and Karatur. That's true.
Strangely enough, it mirrors Mongolia and the Mongol horde of terra firma Earth.
I can't imagine why.
I call that, we call that area in my gaming world when we played in Forgotten Realms, that land was called the land that Faye doesn't want.
And it was basically written as a way to present, I guess it was an attempt to present like the green historical campaign books that they did for Vikings and Charlemagne and all those other things. they rolled that out as a way to present the Mongol Horde.
Yeah.
Yep.
They had a novel tie-in with it. They
Yes, they did.
campaign tie-ins with it. They had a box set tie-in with it. But it, again, is part of that big open pocket of generally left to DM's own devices to populate their own Forgotten Realms with. And either many people had already populated that with something, or they were trying to find a way to fit it, oh, now we've got red wizards down there. Okay, I got less room to do this in, or however else they're going to do it. And it had the same niche marketplace appeal that Charlemagne's Paladin, or Charlemagne and the Vikings and everything else had for its time and its place. Hence its short-livedness. But it could be a useful tool. It can be merged and mangled and cannibalized for pieces and parts and anything you want to change with it. I would say often the first thing people like to do to throw the nice twist in it is make it not humans.
Yeah, that would be a wonderful twist. As my particular experience with it was as a player, because a couple of our players in our group were constantly berating the DM how they wanted to go to Karator. And the DM who had the trail maps to Karator, and he figured that even if the party went straight from the most eastern jumping off point all the way, all the way to Karator into Shulung, it would take them over, I think, a year in game time, at least a year in game time, and of course that translates to about I'd say probably about 3 or 4 months in actual play time. Also, another thing was we were playing Forgotten Realms, and a character that I made in the campaign was sort of a cast off of that pseudo Mongol invasion of the realms. One of the tribes that Yamun Khan destroyed. She was like the last surviving member. You know that trope. But as far as I'm concerned, Full-On's absolutely right. Those two supplements are tied together. They're supposed to be used together. One of them, I can't remember if it's the box set or the supplement. One is one for actually running the actual horde invasion. As far as they got before King Azun sacrificed his life to stop it. Excuse me. And I think I'm trying to remember. I think the other one was just more of I think the horde lands are like this, and they're just they have a description of certain areas within that quote unquote Mongol buffer zone between the Eastern Realms and Karator. So excuse me. So yeah, I think that I agree with Fawn that they're used pretty much together. Okay. I think that will do for emails, because we've got, like I said, we've got a special guest, and we're going to interview him now.
And we have to talk about eyeballs and stalks and stuff.
Yeah, and that too. But thank you, gentlemen, for emailing our show. As always, if you want to contact us and ask a question or tell us we're full of crap or whatever it is, you can get a hold of us at thacoshammer@gmail.com, and we do have the phone number.
405-806-0555.
Yes, indeed. So, now we're going to change gears, and we're going to interview our special guest now in People Skills.
The face is familiar. It's mine. And so it is.
Oh, yes, of course. It stands out a mile, doesn't it? He's so common.
A little lady comes in here and starts throwing her butt around. What is that supposed to do?
All right, forget I said anything.
Maybe I will.
Well, that's pretty good.
Don't tell me you weren't looking at it.
Well, that's not half bad.
She's giving it right back to you.
People skills.
Okay, people skills. Richard.
Hello, how are you?
Still here.
Okay, good. We haven't bored you to sleep yet. Good.
Oh, not at all.
Okay, so, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your gaming background. I know you did work. I think you worked for TSR back in the day. I'm not 100% certain of that. So why don't we get it straight from the source, please?
Okay, I've been gaming since I started with D&D, and when it was 3 beige pamphlets in a white cardboard box.
True old school.
I've kept with it ever since. Professionally, I've been involved with Forgotten Realms and D&D fiction since I guess it was like the very end of the 90s. I started out doing a short fiction for a couple of the Realms of anthologies, and then I was part of the Sembia project, which was specifically intended to bring some new novelists into the Realms. Mm-hmm. And I've kept going since then. I've done I did the Year of Rogue Dragons trilogy. That was kind of the first big high-profile thing that I did. I did the Haunted Lands trilogy, which is all about Fae. I've got the Brotherhood of the Griffin sequence, which is about a mercenary company in the Realms. I'll have my next Realms book will be the Reaver, the Sundering Book 4, which is part of the big 6-book series, which is supposed to be taking the Realms forward into an interesting new era. Mm-hmm. I've written a lot of other game-based fiction. I did stuff in the Scarred Lands when that was around. I did stuff in the original World of Darkness. I've done a lot of stuff that's not based on games, too. I did a book called Blind God's Bluff, which is the first book in a new urban fantasy series that came out beginning of the year. I've got an experiment in self-publishing, which is called The Imposter, which is a post-apocalyptic superhero series I do on ebook. You can go on Amazon Kindle, so I've done a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And one question I've always wanted to know is, when second edition was coming towards its end in like 1999, right around there, and everything was sort of making its transition over into third edition starting in 2000. I know that I know Forgotten Realms, of course, had a major change, of course, and of course they had another major change. I was just wondering, what was the state of affairs with Forgotten Realms in general at that point before the big change for second edition to third? I'm just curious about that.
Well, help me out. When did second edition and the third edition begin?
Third edition, well, they were still making supplements for second edition in 2000, but they mostly stopped right in, somewhere in the middle of 2000.
August of 2000 was the release party for third edition. I have the Gen Con t-shirts.
Okay. So when I came in, it was right when it was changing. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to give you a great answer about this, because working on the fiction as a freelancer is different than being a guy, actually on staff of the company, directly involved in the game design. Mm-hmm. I usually know a lot less about that than people think that I know, because I was like on the wrong coast of the country and stuff like that. But I can tell you that anytime things change, there's a basic change in the game or a basic change in a campaign world, it can be kind of disconcerting for fiction writers that are trying to work there, because when I did book 1 of R.A. Salvatore's War of the Spider Queen, I had the Drow operating with the powers they had in second edition, which natural levitation and stuff like that.
Right.
And after I turned my first draft of the campaign, I said, Drow aren't like this anymore. And I was like, well, what the hell? Nobody told me that.
They didn't give you like a little guidebook saying this changed, that changed, this stays the same.
No, fortunately, we didn't play a big part in my plot, but it was a little irritating. Eventually, what you learn, I think, to take or at least my approach has been to, without violating things that are in the game, you take a somewhat more kind of impressionistic, less
DMV approach.
Specific approach to things like the magic system. Mm-hmm. So that when the magic system changes, all of a sudden it isn't real obvious when somebody reads one of your older books, that is familiar with the new stuff. So, well, hell, magic missile doesn't work like that, because you really described the game mechanic, and they said, well, no, he would have thrown. That guy would have thrown 3 missiles, not 4, and they would have not left a mark instead of they would left a mark or whatever.
Oh my goodness! And God only knows there are people like that too.
There are plenty of people like that. So you. So the best answer I know to give is that I know that there's a lot of parts of it I can't comment on, but it can be tricky to work with when you're a fiction writer.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite book that you've written, and just because I'm jaded, is Dissolution. I love Dissolution simply because the way I read it and the way I comprehended the book, there's no hero, there's no protagonist in that book. You have to write the best out of essentially a group of villainous racial drow, and you have to. I mean, I like the fact that there was no protagonist, there was no direct antagonist. It was just the underhanded scheming of the Dark Elves and the way you wrote it, and there was still redeeming qualities in the characters. But I like that book. What I want to know is, what do you do when you have characters like that have to come, that have been written before? And do you talk to the other author, like Rob or any of the other ones who have written all those characters, even created the characters, and say, do you get like a notepad out and be like, how would he handle this? Or, do you get any info from the other writers? Or?
Well, Bob was was kind of the second editor on the project. Basically, he was right there, kind of overseeing the whole thing. And then being involved in the plotting of it. So he was always available. I didn't, rather than bugging him as I was writing it, I kind of just counted on him to backstop it when he saw the first draft, that there were things that he thought needed to be changed. Since most of the characters were new, all the major characters were new, I didn't have to worry too much about being consistent with specific things he'd done. The two important characters that are not new are Gromf and Quenthel.
Mm-hmm.
And Quenthel actually is a major character, so I take that back. But I was just kind of, I was kind of counting on him to, if I'd gone horribly off track, to tell me, and it didn't turn out to be that way, fortunately. Mm-hmm. The fun thing, it was an interesting thing, kind of a nerve-wracking thing writing that book, because obviously Bob and also Elaine Cunningham had written about Menzo Berenzon before me, and brilliantly, and everybody loved those books. And I thought, well, everybody's going to look at my book. I'm worried everybody's going to look at my book and say, well, as a Menzo book, this is not that great compared to what we've already seen. So I tried very hard to dig out all the stuff that was in the Menzo Berenzon game supplement, the box game book supplement that came out.
Right.
But Bob and Elaine hadn't really written about it, and said, okay, I'm going to have a whole bunch of scenes that get to all of that, so at least people look at this and say, well, at least this is a different side of Menzo when we get to this chapter.
Yeah, it was really good. It was well done. I have another question I had about this book. Let me ask you, because you've written and you've talked to these people. Who created Jagrid?
Okay, we had a... Okay, well, the way this project began was that all of us writers who were involved, who had committed to the project at that point, which was I was there, and Rich Baker and Thomas Reed, and then Bob was there. Phil Athens, who edited the project, was there. A couple guys from the game side were there. We started with a big summit meeting out in at the WotC office for 2 days, where we, in very basic, broad terms, decided what characters were going to be the central characters, and who, and what the very general outline of the plot was going to be. And during the course of that meeting, somebody said, "Well, let's have Dragloths." That's what they're called, right?
Yeah.
You got to remember,
Yep.
the 10 years since I wrote this. Let's have a Dragloth, a Dragloth. And so he said, well, I have a Dragloth. And I don't remember who said it. I remember that somebody gave him the name Jagrid, and he was going to be one of the characters. Then when I wrote the first book, I said, okay, we got this guy Jagrid in there. What do I do with him? And I started developing him. So I'm like the first guy to depict him in a novel, but I don't want to take all the credit for like I created him, because if you read my novel, he doesn't do a whole hell of a lot or have a great deal of depth in my story. I mean, other people developed him further as the story went. To me, he's just kind of,
Yeah, the only reason I bring it up for selfish.
I don't want to say, oh, I created him,
Yeah, no, I bring it up for selfish reasons. I've used the name itself as my online persona in all the MMOs since way back in the 90s. And since the books came out, now they're like, yeah, you can't use that name, it's copyrighted. And like, if you know anything about MMOs, if you play multiple MMOs, you're known and you have guild, what have you. It literally, I was just like, really, I can't use this name I've been doing. I'm like, I'm gonna go find Bob Salvatore and find out who made this character. Like, that's all. I was just wondering. That's cool.
Might be the guy that gave him the name. I actually don't remember.
Thanks a lot, Richard.
Hey, my Sith Lord on tour is David Lopan, so I'm not too worried about it. They only get concerned if you're using stuff from within their milieu.
Right.
Yeah, I got a pun on that one. I don't remember who came up with the name. It could have been me.
So the new book, Sundering Knits, is 4th edition era.
It's set in the contemporary times of the realms.
Okay.
So it is. So I mean, you could say it's like on the cusp of 4th edition in D&D Next if you want to, but we don't think of it as being all that like edition specific. The point of it is not, oh, we're moving to a new set of game mechanics.
Right.
The point of it is that about basically the time when 4th edition was coming in, a decision was made to change the realms in certain ways. Like, we jumped the timeline ahead 100 years and messed with it in other ways. A bunch of the gods went away and stuff like that. And some of the stuff we did was really interesting, or at least I think it is. But some of the stuff, people who were into the realms, by and large, didn't care for that much. And they said, well, it kind of doesn't feel like the realms we love anymore. So we're without doing a Dallas, oh, there's Bobby Ewing in the shower alive after all kind of thing.
Right.
Or doing a Saint Elsewhere for that matter.
Or doing like a cheesy time travel thing where Elminster and Driz go back in time and keep the spell plague from ever happening, or something like that. Without doing that, we're doing another big epic event that is going to, we think, move the realms back more towards what everybody wants to see.
Well,
and in the course of telling, 6 epic kick-ass adventure novels, the series is constructed so that each book in it can be read by itself and tells a complete story. But if you read all 6 of them, then you will also get this grand picture of how the realms as a whole are changing. I think it's going to be very cool.
And you're writing one out of the 6. Are all 6 being written by different authors?
Yeah, the first one is The Companions by Bob Salvatore. That's already out. The second one is The Godborn by Paul Kemp. That just came out. The third one will be The Adversary by Aaron Evans, which is due out in December. Mine is The Reaver, which is due out in February. Troy Denning has The Sentinel, which is due out in April, and Ed Greenwood wraps it up with The Herald in what comes after April? June.
Okay.
So they got Big Ed playing cleanup there.
Yeah, that's right. That's the way he talked about it too.
So the Harpers fix everything. Got it.
Because I'm the guy that's going to have to, like, any loose ends are left dangling the other writers didn't do, I'll make sure I wrap it all up.
Right.
And so it's really appropriate to have Bob and Ed bookend it, since they're kind of the two giants of Forgotten Realms fiction.
Right. I was just wondering because I think, and this isn't a slam on, the process or anything like that, but speaking as one of those people who kind of didn't like how that all these major events would happen to the realms, that would coincide with a rules change.
Yeah.
It was, going from first to second, of course you had the avatars, you had all that. Then going from, second to third, then you had, oh goodness, I can't remember what it is now. But when you actually, going from second to third was like the least amount of fuss, or at least from, my point of view, that's how I saw it. Then when you went from third to fourth, you had the spell plague and, the realms being shattered and everything like that. It was just one of those, I can kind of understand as a player of D&D, who I've been playing for 30 plus years, where it's like, okay, it's like everyone now is like going from, when with D&D Next coming out, now it's sort of like, okay, let's just take this back to kind of where, where the people who support this the most, who support it, how they feel comfortable, feel more comfortable with massive change.
Yeah.
I was just curious about that because, it was just something that I had seen from afar, over, since the advent of second edition in 1989.
As I understand it, and I obviously haven't been there for all of these things. There was a time when it was felt like, specific, changes in the rules meant it was time to really monkey with the game world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe we're away from that mindset now because like I said, the Sundering is not, the goal was not to, we got to make it all line up with D&D Next. The goal was just, we got to bring it back more to being the world that people love.
Mm-hmm.
So the Sundering is more of a world change as far as like bringing it back to where it was in third edition, or not. I don't want to keep touching in editions, but before the spell plague and
before
all
the
that.
Spell plague, that
got it.
Before the weird, crazy rules made gods of everyone, and suddenly there was actual, believe it or not, in Forgotten Realms, game balance of the world balance of it's a heroic, epic campaign adventure world, not Warhammer meets Sigil meets Dark Sun meets the Red Steel.
Wow.
Sorry, I promised Glenn Hallstrom, ladies and gentlemen listening in the audience, here at THACO's Hammer, we do not edition bash.
Thank you, Corey.
Yes, we enjoy every edition. Opinions held by certain members of the staff are not held by the company itself or THACO's Hammer in general. Continue.
But yes, we don't need to have the Cataclysm insert event here to coincide with an edition shift.
Yeah, and to be completely fair about it, Forgotten Realms wasn't the only campaign world that this happened to. It happened in Kryn too, a couple of times. And
How did they explain the cards?
Yeah. Don't even get me started.
What card?
See, my perspective on all this stuff maybe is a little different by virtue of being a fiction writer.
Uh-huh.
But I to me, kind of like the fundamental reality is obviously the wrong word, but reality in quotes is kind of this, this dream of a world that, sprang from Ed Greenwood's imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And
been around as long as I've been alive too.
Yeah, that's the core thing, and the the novels, the fiction is like one window that we look at it through, and the game is another window that we look at it through. Mm-hmm. And the game, kind of whatever the game mechanics or what are, it's just it's just a way of getting at it. It's I'm not that obsessed with how the specific rules impact it at a particular time, because I see it as kind of something above and beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, different ways to approach it, and different companies have dealt with it in different ways. I mean, for the example, the Star Wars novel writing community, there's been a time frame that included several of the editions forward of game rule changes, where all they did was present a couple boxes of old first edition Star Wars stuff to the authors, along with, you know, the classic, this is the Star Wars Continuity Bible, and Uncle George has last say on everything. But they handed them boxes of the RPG material from D6 Star Wars and say, here's your reference material, go.
Yeah.
And it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still, you know, not significantly different, except for the new elements that were ever created and inserted into the EU.
Yeah,
that model where they concentrated on the story content and the crunch of the worlds and the universe and characters trumped game rule by far and made it a better way to present it.
Yeah, as a novelist, when you're using a game book, as a game book for source material, it's like you don't have to look at the part of it that tells you how many dice to roll when you swing a lightsaber.
True.
But the novelist doesn't need to know that. It's like when I was writing fiction set in the original World of Darkness, I wrote novel after novel without ever having played the game or figured out how you would actually play the game.
No, that makes sense.
I agree with you because, like, I'm going to name drop. Here we go. I'm pretty good friends with another Forgotten Realms author, Mr. Eric Scott DeBye. And,
yeah, Eric's a good friend of mine, too.
Yeah, his novels are fantastic, and I've read his new novels, and even the one that he mentioned me in the acknowledgments in the front for Down Shadow. And it's 4th edition, essentially. The ruling, it's the Spell Plague, and it was great novels, great information, great stories. I didn't need the rules and the crunch and all of the, you know, the rules of the book to enjoy the actual, you know, the Forgotten Realms of that time. Right. And I agree. The novels, to me, show the world. I may not want to play with the ruling, but it's still a cool concept and a cool time in the realms itself to be able to go there and read and take part in that event of what the author is trying to get across to you in the book.
Right. I think also just not even a question, just a statement, because you know, you had Bob Salvatore, who kind of, you know, set the mold. Before him, of course, you had the creator of one of the co-creators, D&D, Gary Gygax, writing novels. And, you know, I remember one of the major complaints about Gary's novels is that you could almost hear the dice rolling in the background. And that's because, you know, he's a game designer and a game player first and a novelist second at the most. And I think that, oh goodness, the point I just was about to make just flew out of my head. I hate that.
Blame your illness.
Yeah, I'm sick. See, I think when Bob started writing, when he wrote The Crystal Shard and things like that, he sort of combined the elements of, like, you know, like a storyteller, like even, let's just say Robert E. Howard, for example, who could write a story and insert, you know, the combat and things like that and make it natural and make it believable without having to, you know, fall back on the game material. Is that something, you know, because, you know, you've been playing since, you know, back in the, you know, 70s and whatnot, Richard. Yeah. That would be something that are you conscious of that at all when you're writing, say, writing the, you know, like the, a D&D novel or things like that?
You mean, am I conscious of what the game rules say, or
well, just being conscious, just not so much being conscious of it, but just when you're writing something out, when you're going back over it, that, you know, you just have it in the back of your head just to, okay, this feels a little too gamey, so to speak.
Oh, you know, I don't worry a lot about that. I think that, I mean, I think that if you're writing well, you know what parts are aspects of the world that you should be portraying, and what parts are actually just game mechanics that, you know, exist to allow us to simulate a certain thing with paper and pen and dice and miniature figures and stuff. Okay. It's like if you read, if I write something where a wizard is throwing certain spells that have certain effects, I mean, that's that's characteristic of the world. I'm telling you what wizards do.
Mm-hmm.
And just so, if some guy throws a fireball and it blasts a bunch of orcs, well, that's an appropriate description. If somebody writes something though where you can see that they're all caught up in the idea of hit points and armor class and character levels and stuff, which are all gaming abstractions rather than things that actually would exist in a real world,
mm-hmm.
Then it reads really weird.
Okay.
And hopefully I don't ever write like that. But I've seen game-based fiction that read like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Avoid that.
Yeah. That
when you're counting as the writer, how many times you said he was hit by this or hit by that or hit by this or hit by that, and suddenly you can feel this guy in the back of the office counting and looking at the weapons chart and looking at his hit points and looking at the averages and saying he should be dead by now. Or you can't have that guy around. And it's just like what we've always said when we're discussing hit points as a concept. It's how to be narrative with your combat until the metal hits the meat and somebody goes down.
Right. I mean, if you played, like flat out D&D, then nobody could ever kill a powerful individual with one thrust of a knife,
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying to write about characters who are recognizable as, human beings, that's ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that. You have to have people. You have to write in such a way that any human being could be killed by one thrust of a knife.
That's true. That is very true. See, that to me is like the major difference between reading a piece of fiction, that is full of daring do and adventure and combat and things like that, than someone who's played D&D, a good portion of his life, and when things like that are going on and what he's reading, his mind it sort of shifts back to the game mechanic aspect of it, and it doesn't always work that way. I mean, when I made my first abortive attempt at writing a fantasy novel, and it was fairly combat heavy, the problem is that, unfortunately, I've been playing D&D for too long because it was starting to leak into my writing style. Right. And I'm like, okay, I need to step away from this. I was just curious about that, about your take on that.
Yeah, you're right. There's definitely a lot of game stuff that you'll totally screw up a piece of fiction if you represent those mechanics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. Corey?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now wait a minute. Let's see. Did you have another question for Richard? My questions have been answered.
Yeah, my question. I have a question. Which was your favorite novel to write? Your favorite TSR novel? Dungeons and Dragons. Forgotten novel.
Wow. That's a tricky question because you're fond of different ones for different reasons. But I really enjoyed writing one called The Black Bouquet, which is both a Forgotten Realms sword and sorcery novel, and it's also a caper novel, a crime novel. We have all these criminals vying for this prize and and betraying each other, trying to get it.
And it has a Tenaruk in it as a character, which was awesome.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that book was a whole lot of fun to write. I really like bringing the tropes of a different genre into a sword and sorcery novel and combining them. I did a book called Queen of the Depths, which is both a Forgotten Realms sword and sorcery novel and a spy novel, and really enjoyed doing that one too.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I'm pretty much
all excellent reads.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
definitely.
All of you out there, no matter what time frame the Forgotten Realms is in, pick up these books, read them, enjoy them. They're awesome.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And they're all on Amazon.
There you go. There you go.
Yep. So you can get them for your Kindle too.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So are you cool to hang out with us for the rest of the show, Richard?
Oh, I'd love to.
Oh, awesome. Okay, then without any further ado, if I can pull up my notes and find out where we are, there we go. Let's go on a snipe hunt.
If you only had a living brain.
What do you think? Escaped gorilla?
Listen, you're making enough noise to wake up the dead.
I don't have to wake him up. He's up.
It's time for a snipe hunt.
Okay, snipe hunt. All right. Now we get to the meat of our show, which is beholder based. And I figure we can just do a general overview on the beholder. Not quite as iconic as the dragon, in the D&D game, but it certainly has its place in the game as, an adversary, a mover and shaker behind the scenes in a campaign, and things of that nature. So, gentlemen, if you can help out the sick host and do a little stat thing here.
Certainly.
Thank you.
The beholder, the deadly orb, the thing that floats about and causes pain, chaos, eats everything in its path, does horrible things with magical eye beams, dispels magic and crushes foes, and occasionally shows up in groups.
Yeah. I thought that was my ex-girlfriend. I thought we were doing beholders. Sorry, continue.
I thought she was a succubus. Didn't we talk about that last time?
Well, yeah, she is.
Let you be an ex-girlfriend, would you?
Yes.
No.
Definitely an ex. Okay, enough teasing, Corey. Okay.
It is one of the monsters that, like the dragon, deserved itself to get not just a single page like everything else is in the, Monstrous Manual. It gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whole pages dedicated to the primary monster and all of its subrace variants, just within the bounds of this book, before you even get into the super supplement we'll go into later.
Yes, indeed. As it's, as the description says, the beholder is the stuff of nightmares. Yeah, as a player, they can cause nightmares. The creature, also called Sphere of Many Eyes, or the Eye Tyrant, appears as a large orb dominated by a central eye and a large toothy maw, has 10 smaller eyes on stalks sprouting from the top of the orb. Among adventurers, beholders are known as deadly adversaries. Yes, I agree 100%. I worry more about fighting beholders than I do about fighting dragons, if that's any clue. Let's see. The body of the beholder is supported by levitation, which allows it to float slowly at will. The movement rate is only 3 for the base beholder. So it doesn't go anywhere very quickly, but, that's okay because, well, as I've said, it doesn't have to fly.
It's the Death Star of D&D. It doesn't need to go quickly. It just needs to get within firing range.
Exactly. So, now, the thing about the beholder that's kind of, I wouldn't say off-putting as a DM, but it requires a little more, upkeep and, attention to detail, is that they don't have hit dice traditionally. They have a random amount of hit points, and depending on how many hit points that the DM generates when statting out a beholder, that depends on how powerful it is in combat.
Since I can't math so good, what dice do you need for 45 to 75 hit points?
That would be, oh goodness gracious, you would ask that. That would be 1 to, I'd say probably 1 to 30 plus 44, 45, something like that. I forget exactly. It tells me right here.
Dice till you hit a number between 45 and 75.
That's what I'd do.
Yeah, that would be easy, wouldn't it?
But when they say, 2 to 10. I'm like, how do you get 2 to 10? There's no 2d5s. What the? Then they give you weird numbers in second edition sometimes, dice rolls, and you're like, I'm like 45 to 75 hit points. How do you do that? I don't get that. But anyways, all right.
Okay, basically what ends up happening is that because they put the majority of hit points not in so much in the body but in the eye, and it's like 1/3 of the listed hit points are located in the central eye, which means that the big eye, which fires the anti-magic ray, which adventurers hate, it takes 1/3 of the hit point total before it's destroyed. And that was that's a weird thing, because the generation of hit points has always been a little strange to me. But I think it's determined so much, because the eye stalks have separate hit point totals. The eye has, like I said, 1/3 of the hit point total, so it requires just a little bit more of figuring out the math, if you will.
This is one of those monsters that doesn't fall into the category of you just roll it up as a wandering monster, roll some hit dice, and throw it into your campaign. This is one of those creatures that a DM putting it into an adventure is doing so deliberately, willfully, and has to make choices.
I agree.
Deliberate, consequential choices. So you say, I am putting in 4 beholders in this lair. They will have a 70 hit point master beholder over them, and I'm going to have a 50 and a 49 and a 45 that everybody bullies.
Yeah, I agree. And the beholder, the death kiss, and the undead have this system. Eye of the Deep, Goths, and Spectators, they actually have hit dice that you can roll on. As far as generating the hit points, the easiest thing for me would be to roll a D30 and add 44. That would be the easiest way for me to do it. Although the minimum's 45 and the maximum is 75. So yeah, that falls pretty much right in between. If you want to add that one extra hit point, then depending on what you roll, then have at it. But okay, getting to the actual abilities. Well, not even the abilities. Let's do the armor class first.
30 plus 5d6. That'll
work. See? Well, that would start you at a minimum of 35.
Yes, 30 AC. That's ridiculous.
No, this is second edition, not third. Okay, so the armor class is 0 for the body, 7 for the central eye, and 2 for the eye stalk or the smaller eye, which means the eye and the eye stalk, I guess. And of course, any adventurer who has any sort of experience knows to go after the central eye first, because that's one that could cause the most problems. Although Flesh to Stone and Disintegrate are pretty nasty in their own right.
Yeah. Let's see. This is one of those monsters that, from the player side of perspective of things, this is the first monster that I really, really, really annoyed my DM with having him try to create and craft how to do called shots rules, because we all kept trying to do called shots to get after those damn eyes.
Yeah, try to cut the eye stalks off, exactly. Now, each eye has different powers. The smaller eyes are Charm Person, Charm Monster, Sleep, as a spell with only one target, Telekinesis, which in itself can be a problem for the players, Flesh to Stone.
Telekinesis is how they put in their contacts.
Oh, wow. A nearsighted beholder, what?
I just see it in the middle of battle, nobody moves.
Telekinesis is how beholders execute charge attacks.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Doing!
Wow. That
does a nice Immelman turn.
Yeah, with a maneuverability class of B, yeah, they can do that. Flesh to Stone, Disintegrate, Fear as the wand, Slow as a spell but only a single target, and cause serious wounds. And those are just the eye stalks. Of course, in this, the center is the anti-magic ray, and the 10th one is actually a death spell with a single target, as, it's a death ray. So you have three. Three. You have 3 ones that can basically kill somebody instantly with a blown save right off the bat. And then, of course, you got the ones that are more annoying, like cause serious wounds and charm person, things like that. Then you have the ones that are could be really detrimental but not deadly, like fear and slow. And see, the funny part is that the anti-magic ray is really the one that can really mess with completely screw the party's day.
It could literally cut a party in half because it stops the cleric and the mage. You just lost 2 of your power houses.
Absolutely.
You lost your power hitter and your healer.
Yep.
I'm never too worried about the anti-magic ray of a beholder. Never, ever, ever have been. It's all the sub-eyes that I'm more concerned about, but I'm also generally a beat stick. And, hey, take the magic away. It's still a sharp, pointy thing, and you're not immune to that.
Exactly.
Now, when you guys DM, do you let the players know which eye stock corresponds to which power before they start firing?
Absolutely not. No
I never did
way.
either.
No way. I mean,
did either.
that's one of those where you want to know something. And the funny part is, unless they I would be a stickler enough that if they're not watching, they don't make a perception check, they don't know. Because they're just in the heat of combat and they're not paying attention. So if they go after an eye stalk, I'll be like, all right, you hit, roll a d10. Okay, you roll the d10, okay, and roll your damage, see if you actually cut it off. Because each eye stalk can have 5 to 12 hit points. And if you roll high for its eye stalks, that means it'll take one, maybe 2 hits to get, for it to be severed.
This is probably the origin of my ability to incessantly create detailed component hit charts and component hit systems for things that have components that are discrete and separate.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. Now, I haven't fought a beholder in game in a long time. I think that goes back to probably my first edition days when I actually was playing in a dice and paper game and we went up against one. But I will use for point of reference because this is one question I have. Now, when it comes to using the eye stalks and things like that, do you have them use all of them at once? Or do they only get 1 shot per round? Now, full on, I know what your answer is. Gentlemen?
You make assumptions.
In the write-up, didn't they give you a random mechanic to roll for how many eye stalks it shot per round?
I think it was more for depending on
several.
Go ahead.
A paragraph of it. It says a beholder can use 1d4 smaller eyes if they're within a 90-degree angle in front, 1d6 if attacked from within a 180-degree angle, 1d8 if attacked from a 270-degree arc, and all 10 if attacked from all sides.
Yeah.
So they are limited in their field of fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can't alpha strike unless it's somebody directly above them.
Right. Which was kind of funny.
Hence the use of telekinesis to turn themselves into Death Stars of the deep.
Yeah, I mean,
when they really get pissed off.
Yeah, when the fight's not going as they think it should go, then then they start spinning in place, and then then beams just start coming out from all over.
Another reference, Death Blossom.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Little Last Starfighter for those who know. But now the thing is the reason why I ask that is because one of my more recent experiences was in a game. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it's Secret of the Silver Blades, one of the old gold box games where you actually fight beholders. And when they go, they get all of their shots in, all of them. All 10 attacks, plus then they get to bite at the end of it. So, it's one of those where, yeah, if you've got fireball spells, yeah, you put that on the beholder, and you made sure your fighters were hasted, because if they lasted more than a couple of rounds, some of your characters were going down. So,
hey,
yeah.
The way to backstab a beholder is not to leap upon it from on high. It's to get below it and stab up.
Now that would
learn that quickly from experience. Bad experiences.
I take it that happened to you?
Of course. Who's not going to jump on one if it comes floating by? At
Me?
Least once.
Yeah,
at least
because
once.
at least if only once, right? Okay. Corey.
Yo.
Quick question.
Sure.
This is a question that I asked a few minutes ago. When running a beholder against an adventuring party, do you let them get the majority of their eye attacks in on their turn, or do you only give them one per round?
Eye attacks on their turn? You mean
when their initiative is up? When their initiative is up, it's their turn when it's the beholder's turn to go. How do you run it? Do you just give it? Do you shoot all the eye beams that at the party that is possible, or do you just say, okay, he'll shoot this eye this round, that eye that round, or whatever?
Are we talking after the party has gone through all of the slaves that have been enslaved to the beholder?
Then there's that. Yeah, that charm person spell comes in handy for that. That's true. But yeah.
No, I don't fire all of them at the same time, or all of them. I will have them pick and choose. Mainly because my players hate it, because I've rationalized to them as a DM. Most of my beholders throw spells that these guys are like, yeah, beholders don't do that. Nothing's to say a beholder wipes out an entire party save for the mage, enslaves the mage, has the mage create magic items, things like rings, which fit on teeth, earrings, or eye stalks, and all of a sudden you now have a beholder with a couple more spells that you're like, that doesn't come out of a beholder. What the hell?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I give them more tricks than just their eye stalks, which makes them more deadly, and they will revert back to using the eye stalks, as a last resort. But I mean, if the party's more powerful if they're pretty powerful, I will have them unload a couple of them or use them craftily. But I've never, what do you call it? Just broadsided with all the eye stalks. No.
Okay.
Ding, 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 ding. Been there, done that, had fun. Ding, ding, ding. Been there, done that, died quick.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I have had them hold back the telekinesis and simply just pull out a keystone out of the ceiling if he's getting hurt, and he floats up and just pulls out one of the ceiling keystones out of the roof. And now my players have to watch for falling boulders and stones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then there's that. Yeah. Yeah, and a beholder which has an exceptional level of intelligence and a lawful evil alignment, they will do stuff that diabolical, yes, without any doubt. Let's see. Well,
I really like beholders with haste spells.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, can you imagine that? Okay, I will then. That answers the obligatory. Have you used them in game before?
Yes, I have. Not as much as Grells, but I have used beholders.
Grells are
the sinister Grell Beholder Alliance.
Can you imagine that? Wow. And the other thing that I remember from playing the Gold Box games, there was a side mission in Curse of the Azure Bonds where you actually had to go up against a Beholder Society, and the way you had to do it is that you had to go around the headquarters before you went into the main area and take out a beholder here, a beholder there, because if you went straight into the meeting area, you had to fight like 30 of them. Yeah, so it was one of those. Yeah, it was just one of those that it was just like, it's like you walk into, then there's this description saying there are many beholders here, and then the disc spins up And then it's like the fight starts, and then when you see the battleground, you see like 20 to 30 beholders.
That's when I walk in there with my plate mirror of mirrors.
Yeah, no kidding. Jeez.
Shoot as many you want.
Yeah, yeah. My reflective shield, my full plate armor, my full plate armor of reflectiveness. Yeah, have at it. But yeah, I mean, the beholder is, at least to me, I've always used them as the major enemy to be fought once the players got done taking down its organization, whatever it might be, slavery, whatever organized crime there was or whatever. It was always like the humans did all the grunt work, but the beholder ran the show. And
yeah. I actually have a beholder in my world who's actually running a bar and is part of the Thieves Guild, and he's lost his central eye and 8 of his eye stalks. I think he has 2 left.
Was he just that old?
No, he was a survivor from an adventuring party who captured him, brought him up for sale, and literally made a deal, and the thief let him go. And under the deal that he'd make the thief rich, and the thief made the thief rich, and then killed the thief and took over the Thieves Guild. And he's currently running the Thieves Guild from a bar that he has other people. He's the money bags, the silent partner, but he's running a bar. From time to time,
come on in the back. We'll talk to the boss.
Right, exactly.
And then you walk back. Yeah, then you go back there, and then you meet the boss, and it's like, uh-oh.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a couple adventures like that in Waterdeep. They're awesome.
Exactly. Yes, there are. I mean, but the funny part is that there was a bar in Baldur's Gate called the Elfstone Tavern, and one of the decorations of the tavern there is a dead beholder over the fireplace.
Yeah, there's a stuffed beholder in Volo's guide too, as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think he goes into one shop and there's a stuffed beholder, and they actually do an illustration of it in the book.
Yeah, and but as I said, beholders. I mean, you've got your garden variety, which is bad enough. Then of course you've got the Death Kiss, which instead of having magical powers, all they do is suck blood. So it's one of those kind of things. And you've got the Undead Beholder, which is more or less the same, but trying to remember what the difference is without actually having to look it up, and I'm going to have to. The Undead Beholder, it has 2 to 5 eyes, but it also has let's see, it's actually created from dying beholders. It can't be, of course, immune to sleep, charm, and hold like all undead are, or most undead anyway. And it's just, you've got the beholder kin, the Eye of the Deep, which is the one that's in the water. The Goth is a beholder that feeds on magic. Spectator, which is a guardian of places and treasures.
Last seen in Big Trouble in Little China.
I can just imagine them all having a family reunion. The Eye of the Deep shows up and he's showing off his hands. Look, I have claw hands. You guys don't have hands.
Yeah, I'm picturing the Goth with black lipstick around the big toothy mouth.
Yeah, with cutting scars. It has cutting scars, but not from an adventuring party. It cuts itself at night, in depression.
That's right. It cuts itself to feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, let me go back. You guys would remember probably more because my brain's addled. Wasn't back in first edition or basic when the beholder was brought out, wasn't it given essentially the definition of what the spectator has in the second edition, or in the monstrous manual, where it says the spectator is a guardian of places and treasures capable of limited planar travel. Once it's given a task, it will watch up to 101 years. Wasn't that the actual original beholder's job? I could have sworn that.
You might be right, but I'm not 100% certain. I'll tell you what. I will tell you what, while we're going to shift gears and go to another section, I will open up a 1E monster manual and see if that's actually true. I'm not 100% certain.
I think the original write-up on the Beholder might be in the Greyhawk supplement, the first supplement to the original set. I'm not positive about that.
Yeah, I just remember reading about the Beholder as a guardian, and wizards would summon him, or evil warlords would summon him.
No, that was the Spectator. The Spectator. There's an actual spell for that, but I think
Monster Summoning 5.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, how about that? Full on bringing out the knowledge.
And it makes sense too, because this is just like the Illithids. These are one of those. It's a ball with a bunch of eyes and a mouthful of teeth. It's the same category of things that Cthulhu falls under. These are things that man was not meant to know. They are abominations. They are aberrations. They are not of the natural order of things that have been injected into whatever your game world is by mages who are too stupid to know the difference. True. And not capable of keeping control of what they have unleashed. Then they spread like a little plague.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how bugbears were not bugbears, owlbears were created. But yeah, I mean, so
never summon anything smarter than you.
Yeah, first rule of summoning for sure. Okay, then let's go. If you've got any Beholder stories, of course, let us know at thacoshammer@gmail.com. We are also on Facebook and Twitter, and 6 or 7 different RPG-based
forums.
Thank you. Message
like
boards. Forums.
Purple Worm, like Dragon's Foot, OSRgaming.org.
Yes.
D20radio.com.
Yep, D20radio.com. Nutkinland.
And hundreds of others.
Yes, various and sundry others. Yes, indeed. So, without any further ado, let's move on to Magic Fingers.
Eeny, meeny, chili beany, the spirits are about to speak.
Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Magic Fingers.
Magic Fingers. Okay, we covered it a little bit in the general description, but the stocks and spell abilities of Beholders. With me in my eagerness to, share my knowledge with the rest of the internets, I went through pretty much what they have. But, I've also seen in the various, I have, goodness gracious, I can't even think straight. It's the sickness, folks. It really is.
You sound like me after we do our shows.
Yeah.
When I'm like 5 sheets to the wind.
Only 5?
Yeah.
But,
now, are we going to do we want to talk about all of the spells from all of the variations, or are we just dealing with the Beholder for now until full on gets to, the DM's rag?
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, we
went
through the generic.
Much to go through the pages. They have each of them broken down. We've gone over the basic 10 or 11 for the standard Beholder. Mm-hmm. We've gone over the breakdown for the Death Kiss. They're bloodsuckers. That's what they do.
Yep.
But then you get the Goth, and they get their own separate little powers. They do. Let's see. They cause serious wounds. They have repulsion, cone of cold, lightning bolt, paralyzation, Dwemer Drain.
Yeah, Dwemer Drain, which is very, very important.
And a better bite.
Yeah.
Because, they can't still do physical combat.
Yes. Not like the General Beholder, which only has, like, a bite for, like, 2d8 damage, which is, like, the most, when dealing with a Beholder, that's the one thing you want to deal with.
And his central eye for the Gouth is the Feeble Mind.
Yes.
With a minus penalty to say.
Yeah.
Now, don't Beholders have a thing that they put in their mouth, like a set of braces that act like hands?
Not that
there were things that cropped up in the Eye Tyrant. They have lots of tools.
Yeah, they got like a mouthpiece that like acts like hands for them.
Eye Tyrant goes into it in detail, but yes, Beholders also appeared in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as the aliens of Krang. And yes, they will have totally mobile body armor suits that they can ride in the belly of, ride on the head of, clockwork summoned and controlled cybernetic mounts that they say, I need to move faster than my floating of 3 will let me do. I will have a minion take me where I need to go.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And
they also have, their own personal dueling knives that they clutch in their mouths and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or arose during romantic periods of beholder copulation.
I don't want to know about beholder mating patterns, that's for sure. Then you have, yeah. Then you've got the spectator, which is create food and water, cause serious wounds, paralyzation, telepathy, and
now the question is there cause serious wounds, like reversible?
No. Or at least, well, you know what? That's something that's DM fiat, but I would say no.
Because I would grab me a spectator, create food and water, reversible, cure serious wounds, and telepathy. That's a pet in the making for a high level character. I don't gotta bring food with me. I got a heal bot. Who needs a cleric? I got a spectator.
I've got
on
a
chain.
heal bot. Really?
Sorry.
Get him to swallow a hell opposite alignment and see what happens.
There you go.
Yeah, put a hell. How would you make a? Yeah, you have to eat it, I guess. No,
you could just go raid a Storm Giant's castle and find one of them in a treasure trove. Fit the Storm Giant's head. It's going to fit a Beholder head.
You got a point. Got a point. Let's see. Going on to the Director, which is a warrior beholder. Yeah, you've got Magic Missile, Burning Hands, Wall of Ice, Slow, Enervation, and Improved Phantasmal Force. Improved Phantasmal Force is a pretty powerful spell, just in its own right. Let's see, the Examiner, you've got Enlarge or Reduce, Identifier, Legend, Lore.
You're skipping their central eyes.
Oh,
Director's central eyes have the power of deflection.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Sorry.
They block incoming attacks to a degree.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, all frontal attacks suffer a -2 penalty to attack rolls and damage.
-2 penalty to the attack roll.
Oh,
damage is halved.
Halved, yes.
And the Director gets a +2 bonus to all saving throws against anything cast by anything in his field of vision.
Yeah, so you want to flank a director for sure.
So there I was in the middle of the dungeon, and I swung at this big ball of eyes, and it batted its eyelashes and blocked my shot. It was ridiculous.
The Examiner, this is the more of a servant type of beholder. They're scholars and clerks. They're involved in spell and magical item enhancement, research and creation. So they have Identify, Enlarge or Reduce, Transmute Form, which is like a stone shape, but as long as it's non-magical or non-living, it can transmute it. Spell Reflection as a ring of spell turning. So the funny thing is that as you go through the Beholderkin, you find you've got other things like the Lensman, which is emotion heal, dispel magic, tongues, phantasmal force, and protections as a scroll, but only one at a time, which is interesting.
Lensmen are the ones that actually have a body, right? They're the starfish.
Yes. Yeah, they're the ones shaped like starfish. You're absolutely right.
So I would call him Patrick. Lensmen are semi-mindless drones that don't question their lot in life. That is Patrick.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I mean, if he's got a heal spell, yeah. Lensman, heal me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, then you got the Overseer, which it looks like a fleshy tree, has 13 limbs, each of which ends in a bud that conceals an eye. See, now it's starting to get really weird.
Again.
Yeah.
Blame friggin', the man, the myth, the legend, Lovecraft.
Yeah.
These are the things that crawled out of people's minds when they were reading his books and said, oh, yeah.
And when it was their birthday at TSR, they got to make one, and this is what cropped up.
Oh, my God. I'm just wow. you've got watchers.
Covered in fungus, cone of cold, dispel magic, paralysis, chain lightning, telekinesis, emotion, mass charm, domination, mass suggestion, major creation, spell turning, certain spell immunity, and temporal stasis.
That's probably the toughest one of all.
Dude, I would take one of these overseers. Those who aren't reading or are following along, overseers are covered with a fungus that changes color as the overseer's desire, commonly modeled green, gray, and brown.
Yeah.
Well, why not put an actual fungus on them?
Oh, yes.
Monster
Spores, molds, and fungus.
riding a monster.
Hanging out with the drow. Hanging out with some ropers and some handmaidens of Loth.
Oh, jeez. Let's not make it too powerful, why don't we?
Well, no, I was just saying that would be, okay, it's an overseer, guys. We got to watch the stalks. Yeah, the mold's ineffective. Well, how come David over there is just standing still and the yellow mold is creeping up his arm?
Oh, jeez.
What?
Hey, I made my spellcraft check. I noticed that the frost giants were wearing rings of warmth.
Wow.
In a room that looked perfectly fine, except for the invisible brown mold.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So, I mean, each one of these beholders have radically different abilities in their eye stalks. As you start going up the chain and start going into the overseers and the directors and things like that, you see that the spell abilities they have are, of course, more powerful and more dangerous. So, if you see a beholder city, pass it by. That's the best advice I can give you.
There's actually two other variants of undead beholder to be specifically aware of.
Mm-hmm.
After you get done with all the meat-eating, beholder, death tyrant beholders, you also have, of course, the ghost beholders. So, your doomsphere.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
With all the benefits of being ghostly. And then you also have the kasharin, which is your mummy beholder, with exactly the same power of mummy rot.
Oh, yep. And then, of course, if that's not powerful enough for you, of course, you've got the elder orbs. which are the big ones, which are the ones that are really, really powerful.
They can create and control death tyrants. Create and control other beholders.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in there a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like Brian said, if you see a beholder of civilization, well, they've already seen you.
Oh, with all them eyes, you would hope so, right?
Yep.
Oh, man. So
this is one of these D&D monsters where, if you think about it logically, it's hard to rationalize. Well, why are they aren't they just running everything already?
Yeah.
They're nicely limited by one particular personality quirk of the beholder kind and kin. They go into it when they talk about the description of beholders in general, in that they understand and they're accepting the fact that basically a dozen different artists have rendered beholders over time.
Mm-hmm.
So what they have said is that, okay, when it comes to beholders, they are completely xenophobic and intolerant among beholders. They hate all creatures not like themselves, very much like themselves, to the point of the basic beholder type: ball, mouth, central eye, tentacles. You think that's enough to call it a beholder, but among beholders, they're very racist, because the obvious differences that we can spot, such as overlapping chitin plates, the smooth hides, snake-like eye tentacles, crustacean-like joints, anything as small as a change in the hide color or the size of the central eye makes two groups of beholders completely and totally loathe each other, because each beholder pod or race pile assumes that their beholderness is the ultimate in beholder form, and all others are abominations to be eliminated.
So just like the Dark Elves, if they would stop fighting amongst each other, yes, they would actually rule the planet and everybody would be enslaved by them, but they're too busy fighting each other over vanity.
So the worst thing that could happen is for some charismatic apostle of Beholder Brotherhood to arise and unite them all.
Yeah.
Beholder Jesus, what?
What kind of 10th level spell that unifies the beholder's species appearance? We shall all be the crab shelly dudes that look like the thing.
Oh, no.
It's clobbering time!
Yeah, exactly.
Of the Underdark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's one of those things where, yeah, as is customary amongst the more powerful evil beings, this is the one thing that holds them back. One group thinks that they are better than the other group, and rather than band together and take over the multiverse, they're so obsessed about they being the one true being of their race that to the point where they have to eradicate, others of their race because they are inferior or
inferior, exterminate!
Yeah, exactly. They might as well be Daleks at this
I
point.
love superior beings. Yes,
More like
all my beholders talk like Daleks.
No, more like Cybermen. You will be upgraded.
Of course, there could be a great army of them coming from out of the wilderness, but since they're only moving at 3, they just haven't got here yet.
Exactly.
17 years ago, the Beholders started their war on the surface. It'll be a couple more centuries, but we should all prepare.
You fall into a pit. It's full of a pungent liquid, and one beholder bobbing quietly in the midst of it. I look at the water. What's in it? It's not water. Spellcraft. Love potion number 9.
Oh, no. Dude. On that note, alright, it's time to pull the report. Okay, let's move on to Rule 0, please.
I'm sending that one into Grimtooth.
Oh, God, you were terrible. Rule 0, right now.
One would think you've been doing this all your life.
We'll remember you said that.
I know. I'm sure you hate me just enough.
Rule 0.
Okay, Rule 0, Beholder Societies. Well, we kind of touched on it in our last segment, but we could certainly expand upon that a little bit. Of course, the personality of the Beholder is to, not only be xenophobic, but to be dominant over other races, including Beholders and Beholderkin. So it would be more or less a lawful evil dictatorship as a Beholder society. Wouldn't you agree?
Under the banner of a hive mother or overseer, yes.
Yep, overseer is the big bad in charge, and he has several of his kin as his henchmen, his right eye stalk men, if you will, and things like that. But because it is such a xenophobic thing, it's just they're in their DNA to either destroy or dominate, and and possibly both.
Primary social units in the Beholder organization. They are solitary, hive, city, and exile. The number of the counting is 4, and 4 is the number of counting.
Oh, really? They're base 4?
Yes. 5 is right out.
Yes.
Wow, who knew?
Solitary beholders are the lonely ones that the mid-level parties can encounter once or twice in their lifetime and really have horrible remembrances about among the survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Hives, 5 to 10 beholders or 5 to 20 abominations and beholderkin.
Mm-hmm.
City, 2 or more same-breed hive mothers decide to unite their individual hives.
Wow.
Regardless of size, it's called a city. Usually because same beholder breed dominates a particular geographical locale.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decide to call for a swarm.
Yeah, that's when things really start getting bad.
And then, of course, the exile. Those that are banished from their society.
Mm-hmm. For whatever reason. For whatever reason, and that more often than not, that's what your adventurers encounter, the exiles. Because, yes. What's that?
Solitaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, solitaries, I'm sorry.
You want to have a conversation, try an exile because the hive mothers call them demented.
Because maybe they're not quite as bent on destruction or domination as their normal compatriots, maybe.
It's like the ones that choose to live among humans to become the mysterious crime lord, running thieves and assassins, playing with their toys, playing with their food before they eat it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. That makes perfect sense to me. I mean, so that would be interesting because most normal, quote unquote, normal beholders that would find humanoids repulsive in the extreme, and they would try to basically kill them on sight. So yes, you would be right about that. Let's see. A city. I mean, just imagining a city of beholders, with hive mothers and overseers as the ones in charge, and ranging from middle to high powered beholders all the way down to the lowest of beholderkin and things like that. I mean,
it is worth noting that it's one of the few monsters that it takes the time to specify that you can appeal to its vanity and you can try to have a conversation with them rather than fighting them.
Oh, like
much
dragons.
Like dragons,
yes.
You can try to entertain a beholder and survive the encounter as opposed to throwing down with the beholder, because it's not going to end well.
No, it is not. I agree 100%. But then they start talking about, I'm looking in, I'm skipping ahead to, the Eye Tyrant supplement, and they start talking
Page
about...
7.
Say what?
Page 7.
Page 7?
Page
okay.
7. You can read it or
the beholder's typical day?
Just to remember, they're not dumb.
No, not at all.
In no way, shape, or form are they low men on the intelligence totem pole.
No.
In fact, they float above the totem pole and bob about.
Yes, they do. They just don't fly very fast. Okay. This is a typical beholder day. 5:30 a.m. Awaken and inspect lair for signs of intruders. 6:30. Float through the sleep caves of the minions. Loudly promise death to all who do not awaken and go about their business.
I am Lur from Omicron Persei 8.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
7 a.m. Go to the library or to the laboratory and continue current research. 12 p.m. Sneak up on minions and make sure they are performing their duties. Frighten or kill any slackers.
Wow. 12:30 p.m. Enjoy the daily meal prepared by a minion or scrounge from the meat locker cave. Supplement the meal with an excessively lazy or insolent minion.
1 p.m.
Awesome.
From Master Plan. Float throughout the lair for hours and mumble while finalizing details and speculating on enemy responses.
What are you doing, boss? Plotting to take over the world.
Same thing I do every day around this time.
Exactly. And they spend 5 hours doing it. That's the funny part. 6 p.m. Prepare for exit. Endlessly grill the scouts and other minions on their mission. Make sure their puny minds have retained some portion of their orders.
Wow.
Oh, it gets better. 7 p.m. Exit the lair. Scout the local region and observe humanoids at their activities. Note details of specific areas of interest. Oh, adventurers, maybe?
12 a.m. Lead a raid on a home, bookshop, temple, or ruin. Collect needed information for research. 1 a.m. Return to lair. Catalog findings. Add to the map and dictate communications to correspondents or relatives. 2:30 a.m. Go to sleep.
Yes. So, yes, beholders only sleep 3 hours a day.
So did Albert Einstein.
Yeah, well, he was a genius.
Maybe it'd be nicer if they got their full 8 hours.
What was that, Richard?
So maybe they'd be nicer if they got a full 8 hours. Maybe because they're sleep deprived.
Oh my goodness! Just that description alone as to what goes on in a beholder's mind and what he does throughout the day, that pretty much forces home just how alien that the beholder thought process is. When they're not, browbeating or devouring their minions, for whatever reason, they're constantly plotting for their dreams of domination of an area or whatever, and they're also on the lookout to see if anybody's coming their way, to try and destroy them. So, that in itself is amazing. Just how xenophobic they are and how paranoid they are. It's just ridiculous. But as far as, a beholder society, now that's just one beholder. That's an outcast beholder, or a loner, or whatever the
Not necessarily. You could simply be doing that in his town.
Yeah. Imagine a city of thousands of these beings with these thoughts going around in their head. No,
now
thank you.
Taking applications for the Evil League of Evil.
Exactly. From the Department of Redundancy Department. But just that in itself should give the DM just, how difficult it should be for an adventuring party to seriously try to sneak up on a beholder. Because they're the ones doing the sneaking, especially when it comes to their minions and stuff like that. It's just just that mindset is just incredible to me.
You can sneak up on a beholder when it's sleeping. If you just throw a rock, it'll wake up and look real quick, and then it'll float towards it. We know this by watching the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Oh man, did you have to? I practically begged you not to mention that.
No. Again, I said that we will mention not only the best depiction to date of beholders in cinema, Big Trouble in Little China, but the worst depiction, the movie that bears the game's name.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
the saddest part is the weigh-in in it didn't make it that much worse.
No, he didn't.
Which, when I heard who was going to be in, I was like, really? You got to throw weigh-ins in my Dungeons and Dragons movie? Really? And then I saw it and I was like, it really wasn't bad because of Marlon Wayans. That's sad.
No. Between him and freaking, was Jeremy Irons just completely going over the top with his acting, it actually made the movie kind of saved it, although, the girl who played the mage kind of saved it for me, but anyway.
She was about as worthless as the chick from the Neverending Story screaming Atreyu.
Wow, there's an old school reference. Okay, on that note, I think we will move on to our last segment of our show, which is the DM's Rag.
That's quite a story.
I think it would be fun to run a newspaper.
And here it comes, right over the old plate.
The DM's Rag.
If you ever wanted to know anything and everything about beholders, if beholders are going to be the linchpin of your campaign world, your epic entourage, your supervillains, your threat from beyond and below, you need this book.
Absolutely.
TSR 9521.
Yep.
With a retail price in the U.S. of $18, which can be gotten today on Amazon for what, Corey?
$9.50 and free shipping. I just bought one.
Why, Corey?
Because there is a very large poster in the back which shows and explains every variant of the Eye Tyrant in all of its makeups in full color.
Oh, God, you guys are funny. This was...
That's viewed under a black light.
Right. Let's see.
Or with 3D glasses on. Or both.
Or both. If only to save your sanity, right? Aaron Alston was the designer of this book. Aaron Alston is my man. Steve Winter is the creative director, who was one of the linchpins of the D&D game in the middle to late 90s, at least, if not before. This supplement was made in 1996.
Hey, Newton did the cover. Let's not...
Yeah, well, I know... Yeah,
the credits here.
Corey, I was getting to it.
Alright.
As you said, Dana Knutson did the cover illustrations. Artie Sweekle, David Martin, Glenn Michael Angus, William O'Connor, and Randy Post did the interior illustrations, which are phenomenal.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Now, this book was actually the culmination of several other sources in second edition and one first edition supplement. So that's where it all comes together. It was all sort of cobbled together and codified, and everything was made sense, and this is what the result was.
To give you listeners out there what this book is, this is kind of like the Monster Beholder version of the Magic Users spell compendiums. They are, or the Encyclopedia Magica, which took every magic item that was printed by TSR and threw it into 4 big books.
Yep.
This is, just like Brian said, this is the information that was gathered together. For those of you who like 3rd or 4th edition books, if you bought the Grand History of the Realms, you'll know that all that information from all the timelines was cobbled together from all the other information from Forgotten Realms, made by a gentleman who made a website, and I think the website was asked to be used to make the majority of that book, which is awesome.
Wasn't that Candlekeep?
Part of it did come from Candlekeep, but some guy actually went through. You could actually put in a date of Forgotten Realms on his website, and it would tell you what happened during that year of the realms. And he went through and cobbled every small bit, every word that fell out of Ed's mouth, every piece that was written by our buddy here, Richard, or any other author, and he put it into this encyclopedia. And he literally made it, and they went, Can we take your website and make a book out of it? He's like, sure. He actually has credit in the front for thanking him for actually all the freaking hard work he did. Right. It's a really awesome. But this book is the monster version of those other books. So
This was the first of the books that they called the Monstrous Arcana. It was just like they did one for the Sahagin and they did one for the Ilithiads. This is for the Beholders, and it compiles things that were previously seen in Labyrinth of Madness, Monstrous Compendium Appendix 2, Monstrous Manual, Monster Mythology, Waterdeep in the North, and Wild Space to make the best of all worlds.
Yep.
I think if they would have continued with 2nd edition and we all would have got our dream wish and they would have never made any of the other editions, I think we would have seen one of these for dragons, which I think at 3rd edition they just called it the Draconomicon.
Yes, I agree 100%.
I think this would be, you would see one of these for dragons, and I think they did it just in 3rd edition. They called it the Draconomicon, which I actually have 3rd edition books because of that information I pulled back. Anyways.
Yeah, I have that. Breaking down what's in this book, the first chapter is Beholders, what they are, which go through the physical descriptions, what they eat, like we already covered in the previous segment, the typical Beholder day.
Yes.
Yes.
What they eat, the answer is yes.
Yeah, they're omnivores. Yeah, they'll eat whatever. The Beholder life cycle, diseases, things like that. Chapter 2, the types of Beholders, which we covered in Snipe Hunt. You had the true Beholders, the Beholderkins, the Abominations, Undead Beholders, the unrelated creatures, and the rumored variations. The rumored variations is basically saying to the DM, hey, if your adventuring party pretty much knows what's going on with Beholders, here's a big curveball you can throw at them.
You ain't seen nothing yet, darling.
Exactly.
2 words for you: Beholder dogfights.
Jeez, I wouldn't want to be in that dogfight.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Chapter 3 is the history of Beholders. Chapter 4 is their deities. They only have a couple. They only have 2: the Great Mother and Gizemnid. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. Chapter 5 is the one that most people would be interested in. Their powers, how they fly, their eye powers.
This is known as the shopping list for magic user components.
Yep. And exactly. Precisely. Chapter 6 is the psychology, which is just by seeing that Beholder Day thing, that's just blown me away. Their basic beliefs and, the relationship with other species, so to speak. Chapter 7, Beholder Society. Their social organization, art and entertainment, which is kind of funny in itself. Social and religious rights. Yes.
They have minions. It's all about minions and slavery. More minions, more slavery, and more minions of slavery.
Exactly. Chapter 8 is, I'm going to look ahead and look at this. This is a chapter called Ask the Lord Wizard, which I think might be like the ecology of the beholder or something like that. But I'm scanning ahead to it. Page 47. What does this mean? Oh, questions about the beholder, I guess. Oh yeah, basically it's like an FAQ for beholders. Like, do beholders have eyelids? Yes, most of them possess eyelids for all of their eyes.
This is excerpts from Sage Advice, dude.
Yeah, you might be right about that. You might be right. Can beholders be eaten? Yes, but they taste extremely bad.
If I raise a beholder from infancy to adulthood, will it be my friend forever?
The taste of beholder it tastes like beef jerky that's been soaked in butter and rubbed with sand. Wow.
What's the best way to kill a beholder? Hire someone far, far stronger than you to kill it.
Exactly.
Did you say there's a section on beholder diseases?
Yes.
Worst one's got to be pink eye, right?
Oh, not bad. There is that. I forget what it's called, but I'm going back to look at that. Beholder's diseases.
Glaucoma?
The one, glaucoma, you would think, right? The one most feared by beholders is the spasms, which is a degenerative condition that usually sets in during their elder age period. They will occasionally lose mental coherence and begin levitating in a random direction. During this period, eye stalks spasm in apparent pain, and its eyes attack any creature it comes across. These fits last for 10 to 15 minutes. This is like epilepsy for a beholder.
So that's what they were in the movie.
Might as well.
He went out, he raided a friggin' beholder hive, he caught himself the 3 most decrepit, broken down, elder, hey, I remember back in the day, beholders that were toothless and barely talking, and he hung them on leashes. And let him twitch and look spooky.
Yeah, it wasn't that one of the traps? Wasn't that? I can't remember. It's been so long since I've actually watched the movie.
They were guards on the lair.
Yeah, they had to sneak around them, and they were sleeping right next to the human.
Bulls. They were pit bulls on leashes. Yeah. Sleeping pit bulls on leashes.
Sigh.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But hey, at least I got to see somebody CGI create an actual beholder in the movie, so.
Well, yeah.
I'll give it that.
Then there's that. You're right. You're absolutely right. Let's see. Chapter 9, it's beholder creations like beholder armor, the balldozer, which is...
They're mechanical steeds.
Yeah. Yeah, display shackles, mouth picks, like you were saying before, Corey.
Yep. Yeah, the mouth picks, that's what they're called.
Sticky ceiling, which is interesting. I don't know what that's for. I don't know. And the sphere mirrors, which is, these are interesting items. Now I'm going to have to look, because now I'm curious.
Oh, yeah, that's how they can reach out and touch someone, because they like to live in caves. Caves are not natural creations. Caves are twisty, turny, interesting things that are great for ambush attacks and great for close quarters, but close quarters also brings those nasty, beat sticks and plate mail with pointy things near you. So you need to think in 3 dimensions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
up
that's
and
true.
down. You also need to think in angle of incidence and angle of reflection.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. The sticky ceiling is a 20 cubic area which causes gravity to reverse. So, yeah, all creatures within the field will fall up towards the ceiling and take standard falling damage. Okay, so it's basically a pit trap, but just in reverse. Okay, that's interesting.
Okay, I had a mental image here, and I hate you for bringing that up about the mirrors, because, back behind the town I'm in, there's a lot of mountainous roads, and they're twisty, and a lot of people put those big round mirrors across the street from their driveway so they can see the oncoming traffic. I'm just going to start imagining I'm living near a whole bunch of beholder homes. It's ridiculous.
Oh my god. I was going to say,
example of the effectiveness of that can be found
sphere
in
mirrors,
the Eye Tyrant on page 54 and 55.
Yes. Yes, and basically the beholder is using a mirror to shoot an intruder, to shoot intruders in its lair, and basically it is mirrors, from its lair off certain walls and just reflecting all the way to where the intruders are. Wow, unbelievable. But yeah. They reflect, basically the sphere mirrors reflect their eye attacks without loss of strength or coherence. So yes, they can make reflection shots. Wow, unbelievable.
You know what would be really cool magic items that magic making beholders would be making for themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Magical contact lenses that alter, enhance, or do strange things to their eye powers.
Oh, you mean like augmentation or extension spells?
Or slight alterations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just imagining an enslaved bugbear holding up this yellow, large orange, or round orange lens in front of the beholder. I'd like to use the 5-iron, please. Yes, master. And he holds it up and fires through the orange one. I think I'm going to need a little bit of reverse left-handed English, bounce it off the mirror. Human paladin in the corner pocket, death rate.
Exactly. Yeah, and they go through the beholder's lair, and they basically make it, they basically tell the DM, how a solitary beholder's lair should be, which is kind of, crazy, but with the sphere mirrors, it makes perfect sense now. Chapter 11. Campaigning beholders in their war making, which, only makes sense. And of course, chapter 12 is a reference guide for all the beholders and related creatures. Chapter 13, the Beholders Gallery, which has, of course, different, variations on the theme. I'm going down through there now.
They give a little bit of love through all the planes. They give you a breakdown of beholders from the realms: Greyhawk, Mystara, Planescape, Ravenloft, Spelljammer.
Wow. Yeah, so they go through, they run the whole gamut of gaming worlds at that point. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm starting to fade out here a little bit. Okay, and the final one, of course, is the reason why Corey just decided to buy this supplement. The not only the eye powers at a glance, but also the beholder pinup. Now that sounds vaguely obscene.
Paint me like one of your Forgotten Realms girls.
Does it have turn-ons and turn-offs?
You see, this is where you trap your players. You really, really trap your players very, very easily. You simply have your beholder lair lurking in whatever your great cosmopolitan center be,
mm-hmm.
in a storefront called Victoria's Secret.
Oh God, you were terrible. and of course all the store attendants are charmed by the beholder.
Lift and separate or direct.
Or you will be killed like all other minions.
Killed and eaten. Exactly. So yeah, this is the Eye Tyrant supplement. Like I said, this is just, I knew Aaron Alston, when he ran his game. I didn't know him, but I've heard I've heard about how his games are. Looking at this supplement, yeah. It's like if I was playing under Aaron and he said that, yeah, there's going to be, you guys are going up against Beholder, I'd be like, I'll just go jump in the lake now in my full plate armor, and I'll sink to the bottom and drown, because that will be an easier death than what you have in mind, sir.
Blacksmith,
capstone us. What are your Beholder stories?
Yes, please tell us. THACOshammer@gmail.com and all the places we previously mentioned. So I believe we've come to an end of another one.
Let's close this splat book. Oh, he was asking Richard.
Yes,
what's
Richard.
That?
I was asking Richard.
Yes.
Do you have any Beholder stories?
Oh, sorry.
None that are springing to mind. They're always really fun to throw at my players.
There we go.
Although I don't know if they would agree with that.
No, most players would not.
Yes, I would.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's one of it's one of those monsters that you better even against a medium level party, a beholder can pretty much wreck their day. But as I said, now that we've wrapped that up, we are at the end of our Splat Book number 75.
By the way, I just want to let everybody know today is the actual day that Marty McFly went back to the future, and I'm pretty pissed off because I don't have a hoverboard. Just thought I'd let you know.
Lawyers, man, same reason why we don't have jetpacks and flying cars.
Excuse me, I've been pissed off for the last 10. I've been pissed off for the last 10 months because I got Artal Saurian Cyberpunk 2013, and only about a quarter of the things on that friggin' chronology have happened.
Only a quarter? That's an actual. God, I can't think straight. Yeah, I think a quarter is being generous. I'd say maybe 10%. But yeah, you can thank the lawyers for that, folks. Why we're not living like the Jetsons right now. Why we're not working at Spacely Sprockets and flying around. But anyway, on that note,
can we thank Richard for joining us this evening and lending us his creative historical information?
Yes, we most certainly can.
You're very welcome. I had a really good time.
I'm glad
you welcomes you as always.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're ever bored, just let us know, and you're welcome to come back anytime you want.
Mm-hmm. I'll come back.
Actually, yeah, I would love to have you on for our next Forgotten Realms show, because I'm sure you can provide a little bit of perspective. Just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
Yeah, just a touch.
Well, right. Glenn, we missed you tonight, but from Corey here at THACO's Hammer, I hear ya. I'll be over at Unseen Servant. I promise I'll make it up. The rest of you guys, good night.
Yeah, full on.
From the wild depths of Oklahoma, this is Full On Gamer bidding the Gamer Nation farewell, good night, and look up in the sky for those strange orbs floating by.
And hope they don't see you, because it's going to be a very bad day. And I am DM Brian, substitute host for DM Glenn, saying we'll see you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer. Bye, folks. Jeez. A beholder's day. Wow.
Yeah, that was a whole lot of eyeballs. Thank God we don't have to do one show of beholders.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd run out of Visine real quick.
THACO's Hammer theme is provided by the Diablo Swing Orchestra. You'll find them on Jamendo.com. All other additional music for this episode was provided by Kevin MacLeod. You'll find more of his music on Incompetech.com. Be sure to visit our website at thacoshammer.info. If you have any questions or comments, email us at thacoshammer@gmail.com. Remember, that's an O, not a 0. You can also find us on the second edition forums at osrgaming.org and at purpleworm.org. Or give us a call and leave us a voicemail at 405-806-0555. See you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer.